Hey guys, Brendan slash Mr. BKNX here. I just wanted to make a brief video talking about the possible future of Avatar, The Last Airbender comics, as well as a tiny bit about Korra comics. Now, as some background, we have had five main graphic novel trilogies that tell stories that take place after Avatar, The Last Airbender. The Promise, The Search, The Rift, Smoke and Shadow, and most recently, and just concluding this past April, I believe, is North and South. Additionally, we've had a couple smaller little stories told through three free comic book day comics: Sisters, Shells, and Rebound, I believe. Now, recently, well, I should say, during a period of time this year, there was some concern about the future of Avatar comics because of some lack of communication or mixed signals from Dark Horse, as well as Team Gurihiru saying that they were done being artists for Avatar comics. Though, thankfully, July 27th, uh, just a little bit after San Diego Comic Con, Dark Horse replied to somebody on Facebook and confirmed that Avatar Aang focused comics are in fact coming back, and they will have news, quote unquote, in the coming months. So, it's been, August, September, now we're starting October. It's been a little over 2 months since then, and we're also getting close to New York Comic Con, so perhaps we'll hear news about it soon. Now, I guess the main thing to address is narratively, I think what everyone wants next is Azula, not just her as a major story, but like a really an Azula driven, Azula focused story that involves like telling us a bit more of her backstory from her perspective, as well as like seeing some of the stuff she did in between the Search and Smoke and Shadow, and connecting that all to her motivation in Smoke and Shadow being trying to help Zuko in what she saw was making him a better Fire Lord, similar to the first Fire Lord's advisor, which she draws a clear parallel between herself and that advisor. And ultimately, I think we'll hopefully end with not exactly Azula joining Team Avatar per se, but somewhat of a redemption of her, a reconciliation between her and her mother. Uh, and I think Gene Yang, if he is returning, which I think most people assume he is, and hopefully he is, has done a really good job with the Fire Nation focused stories, so I'm pretty confident we'll see a good resolution to that. Now, after that, it's harder to say. I think that would have been the sixth story taking place pretty shortly after the end of the series. Just, within a year, two, three. Depends how far they want to set that after the recent events of North and South and Smoke and Shadow. But after that, I would think it would be great to maybe have a time skip. Skip forward I don't know, maybe 10 years or so, 15, just so that we can get to a point in time where it's like, so we don't have a ton of adventures that just happen right after the war. We can skip forward a bit in time, see how the world changes more in this time period as we are getting closer to the events of Korra. Still not, still closer to the first series, but inching closer towards Korra. We can see Republic City build up more and the relationship between the nations evolve, as well as, of course, just Team Avatar as they're older. Aang and Katara married. Um, the gang starting to have more mature romances, that sort of stuff. And maybe if you want to do it, have like very young versions of some of like the adult children we see in ATLA. Like I forget off the top of my head if we have an exact age for Azumi, but considering that Iroh 2 is her son and, Zuko's grandson, and he's like late 30s by book 1. He's like 40 in book 4, I believe, somewhere around there. That means she's like probably roughly 20 years older than him. And given that Korra only takes place 70 years after Avatar, and the comics are. You get the idea. Zumi's gonna be born not that far away, so it'd be kind of interesting to see younger versions of these adult children, see the gang as parents while still, balancing the responsibilities of what it's like. I think there is some potential to mine a couple stories there. I don't think, Avatar comics should go on indefinitely, but I think definitely in that time period that we haven't dug into a ton, with sort of the adult Team Avatar, does have some potential for comics. Let me think anything else. It's also possible, if the past year we didn't have an Avatar free comic book day comic, I think Dark Horse just opted to use some different properties, and the year before I think was a Korra focused one. But if we had some other Avatar focused free comic book day comics, they could possibly tell some like smaller little bits of information people might be interested in that wouldn't exactly fit into one of the bigger stories. Like perhaps Aang finding the new herd of sky bison that are the ones that Tenzin and Co. use in the Legend of Korra, or I think something else. I don't know if you want to show like just a short little sweet story with like the death of one of the older characters in the original series and just the characters dealing with that you wouldn't fit into a regular trilogy. I mean, Booming by this point is like in his hundred and teens. Um, and off the top of my head, oh wait, I did have one more idea, one more crazy sort of idea I wanted to throw out, and that's maybe to throw in another bloodbending villain after the time skip when they're older and in Republic City, because we know at the time of Yukon, which is also features the Avatar team as adults, but still probably some years past when they would do the time skip, it's established that Katara made bloodbending illegal, and to me, I guess it's arguable, but to me, I have thought at times that does seem a bit odd. If Katara might have assumed that, Hama is the only known bloodbender outside of Katara, and she's arrested and assumably is close to death and doesn't really have anyone to pass the skill on to, that why would Katara even bother putting a law like that on the books and make it public knowledge that it's illegal, unless there was some other bloodbending villain, revealing that there was some other group of people or a family that had the bloodbending ability to confirm to her that, well, A, it's now public knowledge, so making it a law isn't going to expose it anymore, and B, make it illegal to discourage its use, and be able to punish people that, make this abuse of people's, well, essentially their bodily autonomy, controlling them in a creepy way. Aside from that, I don't have any big ideas off the top of my head. I just do believe that it'd be very important to get that Azula story to cap that off, and then after that, let's do a time skip. Let's see the characters as older, going on adventures, having kids, getting married, that sort of stuff. That'd be interesting to see, I think. If you guys have any ideas, perhaps any more specific ideas, I know I didn't really delve too deep into stuff. Oh, wait. I want to say just a little about Korra comics. Before I end, We do know about Turf Wars Parts 1, 2, and 3. We have the date and description for Part 2. Part 1 is already released. Part 3, we have a cover, and we can sort of assume a date, but we don't know a ton about per se. I know in the review, me and some of the other admins, not the highest opinion of Turf Wars, but, I'm intending to give the other parts a chance. And in regards to future Korra comics, well, we know that one probably won't have the same artist as well, because Irene Ko, I think, has made it clear on social media she probably won't be continuing after Turf Wars, so I have to worry about getting another artist. But I do think that even if Turf Wars doesn't turn out the best, there is some more potential, perhaps, to do some more Avatar stories. I am personally pretty interested in like the politics of the Earth Kingdom after Wu suggested that he reform the states into like independent democracies, and I'd like to see where that goes, and perhaps a bit more with the spirits if they don't totally resolve it in Turf Wars. Though in a sense they've done the spirits a lot in Korra related materials, so that might tire people at some point. I don't know. I think there still is a bit more, and like, I don't know. I just like, as someone that of course likes the characters, I'd like to see what like Bolin and Opal, Varric and Julie stuff they do further, even past Turf Wars. Since there's a lot of stuff going on in Turf Wars already, we won't get to see like too much on a lot of the different supporting characters. So it'd be nice to just have more stories that take place after. Alright, I think I've gone on long enough. If you have any thoughts on any of this stuff, what do you want from the future of Avatar comics? What do you want from the future of Korra comics? Feel free to comment below. Throw out any ideas you have.